Have you ever just thought randomly, I wonder why I think the way I think? Or if you are, like, say, having a discussion with somebody, and after the discussion, you might be like, I wonder why I thought that way. Well, how you think and communicate is all affected by the planet Mercury. And so, in this week's lecture, we're going to be talking about your natal Mercury and how it can give you some insight into why you think and communicate the way that you do. And so, if you are new to me, to the channel, or to any of my content in social media land, my name is Kay Catrice. I am the Natal Chart Navigator, and I am an intuitive energy reader. And I help ambitious, open minded women to transform their lives energetically by teaching them to understand and apply the information found in their natal charts. And so, like I was saying earlier, in this week's lecture, we're going to be talking about Mercury, okay? Your natal Mercury, okay? Now, Mercury is the planet that energetically influences our communication, our thought process, and our social style, okay? And so, when you are looking at Mercury in your chart, okay, the first thing you want to do is you want to see what house it's in, okay? And this is with any placement in your natal chart, okay? You want to always look at the house that it's in, because the house that it's in is going to signify the things that you will think about and communicate about and talk about a lot, or more so than others, okay? Those things are really important for you in this life's journey, okay? And so you want to look at the house first, okay? Then you want to look at the sign that is on that house, okay? Now again, I use whole signs, and when I teach, it's always going to be in whole signs. Now, if you are kind of more in depth or more knowledgeable in astrology and you use Placidus, by all means, continue to use whatever works for you. But when I teach here on this channel, it's going to be in whole signs. And so you want to look at the sign that's on the house, okay? And then once you look at the sign that's on the house, you want to at that point go down and see, look at the little chart. I'm not going to say the name because I'm going to tear it up. Emphoresis, see, I don't know how to say it, but it's the little chart on astro.com. It's a little chart. I call it like the key. You know how you be on the map and they have the key, tell y'all the symbols mean? That's what I call it, okay? But you want to look at how the aspects of to Mercury, and the aspects is how it interacts with the other placements in the chart. Now, for these purposes, just because we're just starting out, we're only going to focus on house placement and sign. House placement first, very, very important, and then how it will be expressed through the sign, okay? We're only going to focus on that. But if you, like I said, if you're more in depth, then you can go and look at the aspects. Or if you just want to try to see if you can, with the aspects, you can do that as well, okay? All right, so Mercury, again, Mercury is all our thought process, communication, is our social style. It's how we take the information and our thoughts and how we articulate it into the world. Is what it is, okay? And so when your Mercury is in the different signs, it operates differently. Now, Mercury feels comfortable in some signs more, or elements more so than others. So, for example, Gemini, Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo energy. Okay, that's the planetary ruler, and so it's at home in Gemini. It's at home. It feels good. It feels exalted in Virgo. It also feels really good in the sign of Aquarius and Libra. So Mercury feels really good. Those are the air signs. Mercury feels really good in those four signs, especially Mercury loves to be in those signs because they're all analytical signs, and mercurial energy is very analytical energy. Okay, and so um, now if it's in, say, like Pisces or Sagittarius, if it's in a fire sign or in sometimes the water sign, just the then I know for sure Pisces, it does not operate optimally in Pisces. Um, it won't operate to its highest potential. Okay, and so you have to kind of do things a little differently in order to actually really express that mercurial energy efficiently, just depending upon the sign that it is in. Okay, now this has nothing to do with how smart you are or anything to do like that. It's just you have to learn how to utilize your mercurial, your energy. Okay, and so if your Mercury is in an air sign, which is Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, then you thrive on diplomacy and tact in your conversations. You talk a lot, and you are very social, and you process information very, very quickly. Especially like if you a Gemini Mercury, um, my ex was a Gemini Mercury, Gemini Sun. He talked all the damn time. He even talked in his sleep, and I used to be like, "Do you ever shut up?" Like, do you ever shut up? All the time, talk all the time. But that placement, Gemini loves Mercury loves being in Gemini because, and then Gemini is very quick-witted, fast energy. Mercury is the fastest planet in the solar system, so it feels amazing. Like it operates very, very, like it is its self. It feels its best self in the sign of Gemini because it is Gemini be all over the place, and Mercury energy is like all over the place. Okay, and so now if your Mercury is in Earth, which is Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, you are a little slower to process things, and you get bored if the information that you are being given is useless. Earth energy is a very practical energy, and so it wants to take the information that it is learning and apply it some type of way practically in its life. Okay, and so you look for the practical applications in whatever it is that you're learning, and you need time to digest whatever info you are receiving before you can respond. So if a good example is, say you have your Mercury in, say, Gemini, and your partner's Mercury is in, say, Capricorn. Okay, Capricorn is going to take the time. It's going to really, make sure that everything pans out practically. Like there's some type of a practical process to applying the information. Gemini is just going to take the information, skim through it. Okay, it's not going to go in depth. Gemini energy is not an in-depth energy. Okay, it's going to skim the surface. And it's going to be like, oh, okay, this looks like it'll work. Okay, and boom, bet, let's go. Well, that Capricorn energy is going to be like, no. We got to process this. We got to look through it. We got to make sure that all the T's going to be crossed and the I's going to be dotted and the P line is going to be under the line. Y'all know when you had home writing, I'm probably aging myself, but when you had to do your home writing and you had to make sure the P came down under the middle line, down to the end, to the bottom line, y'all know what I'm talking about. But that's going to be Capricorn, and so y'all going to bump heads because the energies are not compatible, your thought process, and so you're going to have to work harder. I won't say more harder. You'll have to be more mindful, okay? Not harder. You have to be more mindful of, how each other processes information and, work together, okay? And so if your Mercury is in water, And so the water signs are Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. You judge the direction of the conversation based on how things feel to you. Okay, um, if the conversation makes you feel loved and secure, you're gonna want to continue on with that conversation. That is what's gonna guide you in conversation. Now, if you feel uncomfortable, you could shut down completely, like to not even talk. Conversation is completely over. It's done. Especially like people with Scorpio energy, they go in depth. They go really, really in depth in their thought processes. They ask a lot of questions because they want to get to the bottom of things. And so, if you have a Mercury in Scorpio and you're dealing with somebody with a Mercury in Gemini, that's not going to work because Gemini ain't going in depth to nothing. And because that's going to be too much work. And Scorpio don't like anything that's surface. So, yeah, that's not going to work. And so when you have your Mercury in water, you have to know that, one, if somebody disagrees with you, that doesn't mean that they're attacking you. And so, it may not, you want to always check your feelings when you are talking, because you don't want your feelings to make you feel as if the person is saying one thing when they're really not. So you have to kind of make sure that you try to be more objective. If you have your Mercury in a water sign, make sure that you're being more objective and that you are not taking things personally. Unless, obviously you'll know if it's a personal attack or not. But in general, you just have to make sure that you're not taking things personally and that you're being objective in your conversations, because your feelings really do guide and dictate the flow of your conversations. Okay, and then if you have your Mercury in fire, and so fire is Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo, you need to connect your conversation to some type of action. Okay, so these are the people who, when you are talking to them, they like to touch on you, or they like to hit you, or and not like hit you like that, but how you just be like, girl, you funny, and they hit you. So these people, their conversation is very, they like to be hands on. When they are learning, they'll do fine in a lecture, okay, but tomorrow when we do the hands on, when we do the lab, I go in the chart and you have to go in the chart and you have to look it up and see, okay, that if your Mercury is in fire, that part of the lecture is going to be the part of the lecture that you really like. Okay, this part, where you're actually learning and taking the notes, this is not this, you'll do it. It's not that you won't do it, because you'll be interested. It's something that you're interested in. However, you are more of a hands-on person. Okay. You're very lively and gregarious in your debates, and you thrive on taking the reins of a conversation. So these are the people who, fire energy just has an energy that's it has a very leadership type of quality to it. And so, like, these are the people who, in conversations, if it feels like the conversation is getting stale or whatever, these are the people who will take control of the conversation and bring it back to life, so to speak. Okay. And so that's this week's lecture on Mercury, on your natal Mercury. Now, you may see, if you look in your chart, you may see by your Mercury sign there is a little R. Okay. And so the R means that it is retrograde. So when you were born, Mercury was retrograde at the time of your birth. Okay. And so when you have your Mercury in retrograde, it means that you just think a little differently from somebody whose Mercury is not in retrograde. So it could be the same sign, but because your Mercury was retrograde the year you were born, and the year they were born it wasn't, you guys may think similar, but there are going to be some differences. Mercury retrograde, and so that's a whole nother layer that adds on top of that. Okay, but I just wanted to point that out, that when you are in your chart and you see the R, that's what that means. And I'll do a video on retrogrades, what it means, and all of that. Now, if you don't know what the Mercury looks like, when you pull up your chart, in the little key section at the bottom below the chart, it says Mercury, and it shows the little glyph for what it is. But on the community tab, I did post a picture of Mercury, so you know what the glyph looks like when you go to pull up your chart. You know exactly what you're looking for. Okay, and so tomorrow I will pull up the chart so that you can see Mercury. We'll talk about it, house placement, and sign. Do interpretations. I do 1 or 2 charts, so you just get a different view. And then your homework is going to be for you to pull up your chart, for you to write down, the house that it's in, the sign that it's in, and then for extra credit, if you want to, look at the aspects, try to figure out the aspects, or do see if it's in retrograde and kind of figure out the retrograde. You can do that as well. It's just a little fun if you want to do that. But homework will be for you to go into your chart, analyze your chart, and look at your Mercury. Now, if it's conjunct, or if, say, your Mercury and you have, say, Saturn sitting right next to each other, if you want to try to interpret that, you can. But we're really just focused on your Mercury sign, okay? And so I hope that this lecture was informative for you on the sign of Mercury. And in future lectures, we will go more in depth on Mercury. Now, if you are looking like, oh man, this was really great, I really want to know more, and you would like to find out about your own personal energies, your own main 3 energies, you can book a 20-minute energy audit with me. And so during that energy audit, what I do is I go over your sun sign, your rising sign, and your moon sign, which are your big 3. And then I also go over your chart ruler, because your chart ruler is that's the main influencer in your chart. Okay, it guides and dictates your chart. Okay, and so if you would like to book a 20-minute energy audit with me, the information to do that will be in the description box below. You can also do that. And if you also would like to book a reading, get a full recorded reading, you can do that as well. The readings are recorded so that you have them for future reference. You also get your life path. You get a interpretation of your life path, Google Doc of that, and then you also get an hour Q&A session with me, so you can ask any questions that you have from your reading. Okay, and so all that is included in the cost of the reading. Okay, and so I will see you tomorrow on lab day. Please come prepared with your chart pulled up. It is going to be live for the lab. So lab will be live, so you can come with your chart. You can ask questions in the chat box, and we can, go through things there. Okay? And so remember that possibilities are endless. If you can see it in your mind, then you can definitely hold it in your hand, and that should make you smile, because you really do create your own reality. Have a good one.